Thank you for attending the virtual roadshow, and I'm talking to Township Chapter from Seda.
Good morning. My name is Township Chapter. I'm the Executive Manager responsible for the Seda Technology Program of the Small Enterprise Development Agency. The agency is responsible for the macro task of developing small, medium and micro enterprises. The Seda Technology Program is specifically responsible for the Seda Incubation and Accelerator Program, as well as the Seda Conformity Assessment Support Programs, as well as the Technology Transfer and Technical Assistance Support Program.
Township, please can you give us an overview of Seda's incubators?
All right, the incubation program is now in its fourth evolution. It was started in as late as 2007. It was previously under the Godisa Trust program, a program of the Department of Science and Innovation. And the main focus of our incubation program is to really reshape our economy and focus our entrepreneurial endeavors as a country on specifically technology business incubation. So how do you commercialize technology? Coming from our science councils, our universities, our science councils like the CSIR and other science councils nationally, and also to try and position small businesses within these specific sectors. So that was the main purpose of why incubators was created. And a typical reason why incubators become so important is they provide what we call a structured continuum. It's not once-off intervention that is being offered to an entrepreneur, but it follows a very structured continuum from pre-incubation right to post-incubation. And in the middle is where we look at product and process technology, we look at building the entrepreneur, the business model, and we provide a range of support services over a period of between 1 to 3 years. So the incubation program of South Africa is very strongly aligned to international best practice. Internationally, if you look at the US ecosystem and the US economy, they have a large percentage of incubators that drives the economy. If you look at the Chinese economy, they also have a very large percentage of incubators that drive their economy. And South Africa has just felt it fit to also start building our incubation network in South Africa to drive our growth of our economy and to build the positioning of high growth small businesses for the South African economy.
Can you share a rough profile of the SMMEs who can access the incubators?
South African entrepreneurs by nature, South African people by nature is very innovative and creative. And we have started to realize that. We believe that we need to harness and nurture the innovative culture that we have in South Africa, but also to build an enabling environment. For us in South Africa, we believe that there's a lot of young people in particular in townships and rural areas and what we call grassroots innovators. And those are the ones that we want to nurture by providing a safe space, what an incubator does offer. An incubator provides that safe environment where you can nurture your idea and you can really pivot into a specific sector. If you fail, some of our incubators, specifically our rapid incubation program for the youth, we have 22 centers across the country, and that centers are specifically focused on helping youth startups to find themselves within their idea and to really build a first stage prototype and an MVP, a minimum viable product and a minimum viable service, and really position it for a market segment. And in that model, we also teach entrepreneurs to fail. We were brought up as South Africans to think that failure is bad. Failure is not bad. Failure means first attempt in learning. So how do you teach an entrepreneur to fail, but learn from their mistakes and grow from their mistakes? And I think that is what we're trying to now harness. We're teaching entrepreneurs to fail, but fail fast and fail forward, so that you are able to grow your business and you are able to service a market segment where there's a problem, you can make money, and where there's a problem, you can build a solution. And that is what we're trying to nurture and harness in South Africa at the moment.
Can you share any success stories from the hubs to date?
Yeah, look, I think we have some very creative and innovative ideas that is coming through our system. If I reference our rapid incubation program again, we have currently over 110 incubators in our ecosystem that we manage as Seda. We have the biggest incubation network currently in Africa that we are managing, and we have a vision to create 270 incubators over the next 3 years. So we have a huge vision as South Africa to be able to build these incubators and accelerators to drive our economy. But what we have seen over the last 3 years in particular is some very creative, innovative ideas. We've seen, for instance, a young entrepreneur that has developed what we call a eVTOL jet. An eVTOL jet is a jet that can do vertical landing, and it's going to be linked to the Uber Air opportunities that we are mining. We are so excited about that project because we're going to be one of the first countries globally that will develop an eVTOL jet that will really reimagine autonomous mobility. So autonomous mobility normally is just seen in terms of the EVs or the electronic vehicles like a Tesla and so forth. We are now building an eVTOL jet that use battery technology and so forth to be able to propel it. And we already have interest from as far as the UK for that young startup to be able to move to the UK to incorporate there. We're trying to keep the company here, and we're working with some of our other support agencies. Then we also have companies that has come up with, for instance, a 3D printer that prints in concrete in the Eastern Cape in Gqeberha. Some interesting things where we're going to print, hopefully by the end of this year, our young entrepreneurs in Eastern Cape will print a house using a 3D printer, fully printed a house. Then we also have some exciting things in the agri space where we're looking at how do you use drone technology to be able to look at land excavation. How do you look at data science, and how do you calculate the data so that you understand when to plow, when to use certain things in terms of making sure that your yield on your farm is higher. And you've seen the successes of robotics. One of our startups that comes from the Western Cape that is now also being exported globally using drone technology. We've also seen some very exciting things in the artificial intelligence space, where young people have come up with new technology in terms of how to do certain things to enhance the way we do things in South Africa. And then we have some simple stuff, but yet creative in the vocational side. So how do you use your vocational skill? How do you use a hairdressing skill, a mechatronic skill, and convert that into a business? And we're seeing those things coming through our system. We have things like technology that will advance. How do we use taxis? The paying system in taxis. How do you bring in community broadband networking? How do you connect communities to the network using community technology? So there's things in what we see in the IKS space, the indigenous knowledge systems, where we're looking at new what we call nutraceutical products. The products that we now all consume because of COVID, your vitamins and things that comes from local technology, local entrepreneurs that is harnessed IKS technology. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. We're in the health sector. Our health incubator, health tech incubators doing phenomenal work in something like cultivated meat. Soon you will not go to the butcher for your favorite steak coming from a cow, or no, it will be cultivated in a lab, and it's phenomenal. The nutrition that sits in it, it's phenomenal. And so there's a lot of technology that's coming through our system. The biggest challenge in South Africa still is how do we finance those technology? In other countries like the US and Europe and Asia, they have what they call early stage risk capital. In South Africa, we don't have that. And that is some of the things we are now trying to build as Seda in partnership with our sister agency, which is SIFA, the Small Enterprise Finance Agency.
I read on your website that there are a surprising number of incubators around South Africa that offers an incredible resource for innovators around SA.
We have some strong partnerships with the private sector because we're in this together. It's a symbiotic relationship that you have to build between big and small business. Small businesses are nimble and they're agile, like what you said earlier. They can move quicker, they can move faster, they can make a turn quicker, where bigger businesses can't. So they need each other for us to be able to do that transition and that innovation commercialization, right? So we see a lot of private sector entities wanting to fund some of our startups and some of our SMMEs and medium-owned firms. And the call is always for them to position themselves within these hubs. These hubs have been established. Government has taken the risk. We've built these hubs, we've built these innovation centers, like I said, 110 across the country. And now you need the private sector and angel financiers and venture capital to soft land in those hubs. Because I had the privilege of spending some time in Silicon Valley. I spent some time in the Bay, in different parts of Silicon Valley. And if you look at how they have structured the incubation and accelerator programs, then in every one of the incubators, there's a venture capitalist. In every one of the incubators, there is an angel financier. The reason for that is you capture the entrepreneur early. You understand what is the transition and the tracking of that SMME. So the incubator do the de-risking for the funder. And that is what we want to encourage. And we need private sector. I plead with private sector to really come alongside us, partner with us. We have these 110 hubs that can de-risk your money. We have this 110 hubs that can make it easier for you to finance a small business, to finance a startup. We just don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think the biggest challenge in South Africa, everyone wants to be a rock star. Everyone wants to build their own hub. And sometimes you don't need that. You can just take your capital and come alongside government capital, and we have more. I normally use the analogy of 5 Rand and 5 Rand. You bring your 5 Rand, I bring my 5 Rand, we have 10 Rand, and we can do much, much more with that 10 Rand than with the 5 Rand that I have. And I think my plea is always to the private sector. Come alongside us, let's see how we can do more for this country, especially now in where we are at the moment. There's a huge trust deficit between the private sector and government. Look, Seda is a public entity, so we're not a typical government department. We are an entity, so we're also a bit nimble and agile in our approach. So it's easier for us to partner with a private sector firm, right? It's easier for us to partner with a venture capital firm and an angel financier or private equity firm. But there's a seeming inherent trust deficit between the private sector and government. So the private sector sometimes feel, look, we can't trust you with our money. What are you going to do with our money? I think the history where we come from and the challenges that we've been through over the last few years, I don't need to repeat it. The issue of corruption and state capture and those type of things have really created a divide between the private sector and government. So for us, it's to build the trust. It's to build the trust deficit to say that let's work together. My minister in particular, and she has now a dual portfolio in as the minister in the presidency as well, acting. She's been advocating that, and we've been with the private sector over the last 6 months, and we've really been speaking to the private sector, trying to find each other and say, guys, how do we work together? What do we do collectively? And how can we build a better South Africa? At the end of the day, I don't want to leave South Africa. I don't want to take my children out of South Africa. And collectively, we can do phenomenal things. We can build a South Africa where we consume the products that we produce. And that is a big challenge in South Africa. We don't consume what we produce. And South Africa, like I said, has phenomenal products that we are producing, both for the retail market as well as the manufacturing market. But our products are not consumed by ourselves. We are still very import-led and import-driven. And I think that is some of the work that we are now trying to do, is to say, let's work together. Let's overcome the trust issues. Yes, mistakes was made. Yes, problems was created. But how do we now move beyond that? And how do we build a South African incorporated that we all want to see for our children and our children's children, and to create a better future for ourselves?
Can you share any advice for innovative SMMEs around South Africa?
Yeah, look, I think risk, again, it's how we were brought up. We were brought up that risk is a bad thing, and risk, take calculated risk. Not even don't take risk, because if you take a risk, you will, so it's you will fail, right? And failure is not accepted. Because failure was never accepted. So a good entrepreneur is a risk taker. A good entrepreneur is saying to him or herself, I need to start. And if I fail, let me learn from my mistakes. Yes, I'm going to take a risk, but let me take calculated risk. But not taking the risk will not take you anywhere. It will make you have a good idea and sitting on it because you're scared. I can't because I'm scared of failing. Failure, like I said, is first attempt in learning in our vocabulary. We have ingrained it in our mantra as Seda. In particular, my team. We believe in failure. Every year we come up with a new product. So like the business thinks, my division needs to think. We can't be static. The way we design incubators for South Africa, accelerator programs, it's an evolving, ever-improving, continuous improving process. And we have taken on that principle of taking risk. And sometimes, people think, "Ooh, you're taking too much risk," but we take it. And when we catch the upswing, it works for us. And we've seen it. It's been working for us because we've taken risk, and we're not scared of taking risk. We build new models. For instance, we've now built a new digital hub model for South Africa. Right? We've modeled it around the German model, but we've also taken into account South Africans' own issues. And we're now building tech hubs across the country that will drive our positioning and transition within the era of the fourth industrial revolution. We're going to see phenomenal tech that comes out of that hubs. And we've taken a risk. No one has invested, we've invested. And if you look at where we've positioned these hubs, we've positioned them in townships. People said to us, "You can't, you shouldn't, you're making a huge mistake." So we are building phenomenal tech hubs. And we will invite you to visit some of our hubs in townships. And you know what is so interesting about building these hubs in townships is that the communities are protecting it. There was we were scared to say, "Ooh, we're building these high-tech, high-end computing in those hubs, 3D printers, scanners." It has some of the best technology that you can find in South Africa. And we've built it in communities like Kraaifontein and Botshabelo and, in townships. And it's been protected. The community, because we've appointed a community champion to run that hub. And that community champion rallies the community. And in rallying that community, young people are now coming into the hub, being trained on coding, on robotics. They now understand what is data science. They're building new technology and new solutions using technology. And our coding labs are free. It's free. It's teaching young people how to code. Because we believe that if you understand coding, you have a higher propensity of success in your life. So that is what we're trying to do. Where the hubs are located in all provinces. So we have a hub in every province in the country. We're now building hubs in every district. Like I said, we have over 110 incubators and hubs across the country. There are 90% of them are sector specific. So we look at the growth sector. For instance, we have in partnership with City in the Western Cape, we have what we call BioCity, where we're focusing on biotech. We have in Atlantis, we have an incubator that focuses on green technology and renewable energy, both from hydrogen to solar solutions being built there. Then we have in Botshabelo, in the Free State, we have hubs in both Bloemfontein that focuses on young people. We have a hub that focuses on robotics. And then we have a hub that focuses on mining technology and agri. Then in the Northwest Province, we have hubs, both digital hubs, electronic hubs. So all our hubs takes a very strong sector perspective based on the economic nodes of that province. So if, for instance, a specific province is strong on agri, there will be a strong focus on agri to build the type of entrepreneurs that can drive that economy within that province. So that's how we model our incubators. Then we also have generic incubators. Incubators that focus on all sectors and also very community focused. And then we have, like I said, digital hubs. We have 6 digital hubs now and an additional 7 tech hubs across the country. Those hubs are focusing on the 4IR verticals, both technology verticals, your cloud computing, your cybersecurity, and it's bringing entrepreneurs in there to build those type of solutions locally, platforms and so forth. And then we have what we call township incubators. So those are incubators in a community and it's a mixture of a digital hub or a generic hub, and they are looking at what is the problems that can be sorted out in the communities and building entrepreneurial solutions for those communities. So someone can come in and say, how do I build a transport solution to get me from this shop to this shop? I'm just using that as an as a simple example. And we're seeing, how do you solve community problems, and then how do you solve industry problems? We have hubs that are close to industrial parks and special economic zones, because you also want to make sure that we link or create that symbiotic relationship between big and small business. So the list of all our incubators are on our Seda website, and an entrepreneur is more than welcome to visit any of our hubs. They do follow a application process. So the application process is normally or a pitching process. So you pitch, you do an elevator pitch, you can post your pitch electronically, and then the team in this specific incubators will then listen to your pitch, and they will invite you to an interview. So again, like I said, they look at the mind. You might not be qualified, you might not be educated. That's not an issue for us. We are looking at your idea. We are looking at who you are. And then we put you in a pre-incubation program, and it's there where we look at team formation. You might be a good techie, but you might suck at marketing. So how do we bring someone else in to help to sell what you are building? And then we train all our entrepreneurs and our incubators how to sell. You know, I normally say this to people: if you can't sell, you don't have a business. You are a good innovator maybe, but if you can't sell that idea, if you can't monetize it, you are not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur must sell. You must be able to know how to sell your product or your service. So we teach in all our incubators how to sell, how to make that first sale and how to transition and make more sales. Yeah. But you as well, you as the entrepreneur, you must know how to sell. You as the innovator, you must know how to sell. Because if you can be an innovator. Let me give you an example of one of our entrepreneurs that has developed a electronic solution for electricity consumption. Right? It's a very nice, noble, very good innovation in terms of making sure that the consumer can control their electricity consumption. It's not a new thing. There's many of those in the market, but they've come up with something very unique. But when you speak to the innovator, he just wants to play with that thing and come up with a new iteration and a new iteration. And I said to him, young man, I like what you have built, but when are you going to sell? He said, no, but I want to build. I said, no, when are you going to sell? If you don't, and exactly what you said, then we brought in someone that can sell next to him. But we also said to him, you must understand that it's nice to build, but you must also know how to go out and listen to your customer. Remember, the customer is important. I normally use this analogy. There's the customer and there's revenue. I normally say the heart and the arteries. The customer is the heart of a business. If you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. So you must make sure that the heart is there, it's strong. And then you need revenue. You need money. So the money and the revenue is the arteries around the heart. And the arteries keeps the heart to pump blood and makes the heart to consistently continue to move. So if you don't have customer and you can't generate revenue, you don't have a business. So it's important that you know how to sell.
Thanks so much for sharing that with us.
It's been great to be part of this roadshow. Please stay in touch with us by contacting Seda at the different numbers. You can also contact us via our website, www.seda.org.za. And I'm looking forward to you having a great day and a great roadshow during the next few days. Thank you.
That was Vern Jafter from Seda.